Hey everyone. It always warms my heart when Mohammed Hijab gets triggered by something, and recently a couple of hate preachers were banned from coming to the UK. Now, any reasonable person would consider this a good thing, but obviously Hijab considers this a grave injustice. Let's take a look.
Recently, two Islamic speakers tried to come to the United Kingdom to do some speaking tours here in the United Kingdom to see their followers and their fans and their people, to discuss with them and so on and so forth. Mufti Munir and Mohammed Hijab, two very famous and prominent Islamic speakers across the world.
Yeah, they're famous for being extremists, just like you, and preaching Sharia and killing apostates and all the other lovely stuff that comes with that.
And they were blocked from doing so because of the following intervention by the media, of all people. And not just the media, by the way, I should add. It was also the far right media, a channel called GB News.
It's always an irony when you refer to anybody else as far right when you are so blatantly far right yourself.
A channel characterized by its sentiments, anti-Muslim and anti-immigration sentiments. You can even call it, and some have called it, racist sentiments.
Yeah, but you think that any mild criticism of Islam is somehow racist, so nobody should really take your definition seriously, should they?
But they have, in fact, exposed themselves and exposed the interplay between the far right now and the governments of Western countries. Let's take a look at this and respond in kind.
Right, I'm just going to skip forward this GB News section because they're basically just confirming that, yes, these people have been banned from the UK, which I think is a good thing. And let's take a look at Mohammed Hijab's response.
Of these two preachers.
Well, this man is grandstanding, is showboating. The first thing I will say,
really? You're accusing other people of grandstanding and showboating when this is like 2/3 of your personality, are those things?
is you have prompted me to look at your content, and I found that you've said some defamatory things about myself. And as such, I've instructed legal counsel to take you to court. You're going to be going to court, my friend.
Oh my lord, another court case from Mohammed Hijab. Is there anyone he has not sued yet, or at least claimed not to sue?
Friends, just like other people that I have taken to court. As you know, I'm a very litigious man. I've taken Douglas Murray to court, I've taken the Spectator to court, taken the Telegraph to court, taken Tommy Robinson to court, taken many people to court.
Well, yeah, you've claimed to take all these people and organisations to court, and I remember you talking about taking the Telegraph to court and taking Douglas Murray to court about 2 years ago. How's that working out for you? Are we going to get any update? Because either you're just lying and you just say this to act the big man on your video, or these cases have been thrown out, because we would have expected some kind of update in 2 years. So this just all sounds like grandstanding.
And I've taken people to court in different countries. And yes, there will be a response, because this...
Yeah, the response will be, this is a frivolous case and it will be thrown out, assuming that this is all not just bollocks.
We have to understand as Muslim people, right? And I know many Muslims are watching this, and I know many non-Muslims are watching this, but as Muslim people now, we are under severe attack. We are under severe attack, especially after the ascendancy of the far right and Donald Trump in the United States of America. This is a...
Oh yeah, that has a big impact on you, Donald Trump, doesn't it? As you as a Muslim in the UK. And again, playing this victim card, right? I mean, I don't deny there's anti-Muslim bigotry in the world. Of course there is. And of course I would condemn that. But it is not some major problem, certainly not in the UK. There's very little of that going on. And so for you to be playing this victim card is just laughable.
Fact now. There's no question about it. We are under severe attack. We are being abused on many different grounds.
And what abuse are you suffering? That we're saying to you, no, you don't get to live by special privileges. And yes, you're going to be banned from the country if you're coming here to preach that apostates should be killed and gay people should be killed and all the other horrible things that these preachers were coming to talk about.
Look, the irony of this all is that this is meant to be a channel that talks about freedom of speech and expression. But it seems to be that the far right wants to allow freedom of speech and expression to exist in all things that are antithetical to its own purposes, which are anti-Islamic and or anti-immigrant purposes. In other words, you're selective in your understanding of freedom of speech and expression.
Well, no, this is not actually a freedom of speech issue insofar as When somebody is banned from the UK or any other country, it's done on grounds such as, is it conducive to the public good to allow people in? If they're going to go round encouraging Muslims that they should want to live by a totalitarian system where a bunch of people are going to be killed. It's not conducive to the public good. And there's also the grounds of potentially national security. And I think it's reasonable, considering how many people with Islamist beliefs are either adjacent to full-on jihadists, or end up going around committing things like terrorist attacks and stuff like that. I mean, we've seen it over and over again. We saw hundreds of UK Muslims going to fight for ISIS, for goodness sake. So there's legitimate security concerns when somebody comes into the country with those kinds of beliefs.
Why would you want to celebrate in grandiose form, grandstanding form? Why would you want to celebrate blocking somebody who is antithetical, has antithetical belief systems to yours? Why?
Because they are promoting the kind of thing which is going to encourage some number of Muslims to act out in extremely bad ways. And I'll give you some examples of this. Under Sharia and under the kind of thing that you support and that these other hate preachers support, homosexuality would be punished with death. Now, 5 years ago in Reading, an Islamist kills 3 gay men. Are we going to say there's no connection to promoting these beliefs and somebody going off and doing that? We get the same when you're promoting these blasphemy laws. We get death threats against teachers, against students who drop a Quran. We get cinemas get threatened by mobs because they show a film that's critical of Aisha. Yes, there is downstream consequences to having these beliefs promoted. And I think it's a good thing we start curbing them.
Why would you want to celebrate blocking them from exercising freedom of speech, so long as they do not call to violence, which in...
But the point is there is violence as a result of having these beliefs spread. And I mentioned this in the video that I dropped yesterday on Smile to Jannah. There'll be a link at it, for it at the end of this video. He's going around promoting child marriage. And I raised the question, when is this going to be considered to be incitement to violence? Because if you're encouraging to have that kind of abusive relation with a child and some number of Muslims go and follow that, then you are kind of responsible for that violence against those children. And I would spread it wider. Again, if you are going around saying that apostates should be killed, you can see that ex-Muslims suffer a certain amount of violence in the UK when they leave the religion. When you're going around promoting blasphemy laws, death penalty for blasphemy laws, and you see that people have got to go into hiding because they're getting death threats, then again, to me, it does seem, if it's not incitement to violence, it is so close that I'm wondering, if there does need to be some general change in the law here. I mean, I'm not wedded to this position, and maybe people can leave some comments about it. I mean, there may be some unintended consequences, but this kind of stuff is just getting worse and worse in the UK. And at some point, it may need to be acted on. And I hate to think that, because I do support freedom of speech, absolutely. But at what point does constantly promoting this aggression and this hostility to groups of people just based on who they are or what they believe or what their sexuality is, when does it cross over to the line of incitement to violence?
These 2 men's case, they have not called to violence. And I challenge anyone to find anything where they're calling to violence.
Well, again, you can argue it's not directly, but indirectly it kind of is.
And the reason you're doing this is because you're fragile.
No, they're doing it because it's sensible to not let these people have their little tour around the UK promoting this horrible crap.
And you're insecure. And you're scared. And so Muslim people have to understand right now, we represent minorities in the Western world. We need to have a multi-pronged, multifaceted response to individuals, governments, wherever it may be, that are trying to stop us from existing. They are trying to render...
No one's trying to stop you from existing. What a load of nonsense. What they're saying is that maybe it's not a good idea to allow you to promote this kind of antagonism, hostility, and essentially indirect violence towards people. It's not stopping you from existing.
Render us into impossible subjects. They are trying to...
Oh, impossible for you to basically respect the laws of the country and actually respect the principle that you don't get to have extra rights, that it's not right for you to be going around promoting all this horrible crap. Oh my God, what an oppression.
Besmirch our reputation and remove our.
What do you mean besmirch your reputation? You have a reputation as an idiot and a reputation as a hateful bigot, and it's well justified.
Status in these countries. This cannot be the case, and this will not be allowed to be the case, and we will fight this tooth and nail in every legal manner and every legal means possible, available to us by any legal means possible. And yes, I do have to caveat that one because of the time that we're living in.
You see, right there, it's this kind of crap, that smirky look to the camera that's basically you saying that if you had the power to, you would go outside of what is currently legal and you would promote very much illegal stuff. That is the implication of what you've just said.
And I will say that now, I try myself, me and my compatriots and my friends, and my companions, to travel to some other Western countries. And now we are finding, for example, I was meant to go to Canada. And usually I just do the ETA, and I had actually a valid ETA, which is an ETA is the electronic travel authorization document. I had a valid one till 2028. Then they sent me an email all of a sudden, and they said, you have to produce all this new information.
Okay, so what? So they asked for you to update your paperwork. Is this now new oppression for you?
This is the information you have to produce, and this and that and the other. You've never done this with me before, but I know why you're doing it, because the news media has had some hit pieces on me, taking my statements out of context, just like GB News has done so.
Oh, what? So the Canadian media apparently have cottoned on to the fact that you are, a terrible person that's promoting a load of horrible stuff, and you think they don't want you in their country, and they're using this as like a proxy way to do it. Well, I mean, that sounds like a conspiracy theory nonsense, because if they actually thought that you were not conducive to the public good, they wouldn't need to use that. They could just do what Britain has done to these other guys. So this is just you again crying crocodile tears because what? You didn't do your paperwork properly.
So in a defamatory manner, which shows, by the way, that you're weak and you can't handle our arguments because you have to misrepresent our positions.
No one misrepresents your positions. Your arguments are terrible, which is why you will only do a debate with someone if you can try and set up a high-profile figure that doesn't know anything about Islam, or if you're speaking to someone completely green down at Speaker's Corner who doesn't know about Islam. You won't actually debate anyone who knows Islam because you will lose.
You're weak and you cannot handle our arguments. That's why you have to misrepresent our positions. If you are...
Again, point to where someone has misrepresented your position. You're a Salafi. You want to live by Islamic law, which is a totalitarian system. That's it.
Strong enough, you would steel man every single one of our arguments and try...
I just did steel man your argument. That exactly describes your position.
And face those arguments rather than distort them and try and block us from speaking in the first place. This actually does demonstrate...
Again, you're not being blocked. You can have debates online, even if you've not been allowed into a country. So again, these crocodile tears, don't care, mate.
Cowardice. But the message to take home now for the Muslim community is that things will get worse, unfortunately, for us. And we have to now prepare all sorts of consequences. We have to...
What does that mean? Again, doesn't that sound like a veiled threat? And then you wonder why you're not exactly, favoured to the public?
Prepare all sorts of consequences of a legal manner that we can use against these people that want to take our rights away. And we have to form a civil rights movement. It's
a civil rights movement. Oh my word, right? I mean, you've obviously used that phrase deliberately to try to equate you wanting to spread your poison with Black Americans in the 60s and before living under Jim Crow. You're trying to equate those two things. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mohammed Luther King right here fighting for justice. What a fucking insult that is to a legitimate civil rights struggle.
Actually, at that stage, we have reached a stage where we require a Muslim civil rights movement.
No. Basically, you already have equal rights. And I would say in the UK, the sort of thug element that you represent within the Muslim community, the Salafis and the Wahhabis, you get away with a lot more than you should do in terms of being able to intimidate people and stuff like that. But you've got your equal rights here. There's no civil rights movement going on. What you want is special privilege for Islam. And I'll be fucked if I'm going to let that happen.
In America, in Canada, in the United Kingdom, in Western Europe, everywhere, the far right is on ascendancy and they're afraid of us. Not only that, they want to remove us, they want to expunge us.
No, but and again, like he's trying to act as if like this is about Muslims in general. First of all, no one's trying to expunge anyone. Stop trying to like use sort of genocidal language or something. No one's trying to expunge anyone, and no one is against like the average Muslim is just living their life, which is most Muslims in the UK. They're not like you. They are willing to live reasonably and peacefully by the law. They're not looking for special privilege. You are, and you are also trying to encourage all of them to adopt your fucked up ideology, your Salafism, your Wahhabism. That's what's going on. So stop acting as if you're an oppressed minority. You're not.
They want to completely rid their societies of us.
No, I mean, we're not talking about the average Muslim here. Of course not. But this is how you want to portray it. You want to portray it as some act of bigotry. We're not against you as a Muslim. We're against you as the poisonous ideas that you're spreading, where you want a totalitarian state to oppress everyone. We're not having it.
Because they're afraid of us. And we have to respond. Whether that is legally, institutionally, or through media. With that, I will conclude. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Yeah, well, your conclusion is nonsense. And my conclusion is I'm very glad that these guys were banned from the UK. I would say everybody who has these horrible Salafist Sharia supporting beliefs should not be allowed to come here and preach them. And I think it's hilarious that your Canadian propaganda tour has been cancelled because you were too stupid to fill out the paperwork properly. It's a win for everyone, every reasonable person. So a nice little way to get into the weekend, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.